Hey everybody, it's Nasty from Nasty Game Studios, and today I'll be just kind of going over the final project for the level design class, building a level in GZdoom, and the agenda is just kind of a explanation of the thought process and the pre-build steps. Then a little walkthrough about like the build steps and issues that occurred, how things resulted the way they were, things I learned while I was building, and the like that, tips, tricks, pain points, etc. Overall, like thematic, what I wanted to include, and then we'll do a quick scuffed kind of just run through to like show you the thematics, and then I'll try and do hopefully everything goes okay, like a short little try hard run through, so you can see how it would actually play. So background knowledge, there was some issues that I ran into originally kind of with this. So I had built like a pretty sizable level in Ultimate Doom Builder, but using the original, like the regular Doom assets, and then I had some update, and it kind of bricked like my whole build and things were pointing to like the wrong areas, so I kind of had to start over. So what I did was I just took a couple different tutorial videos. Some we had watched, some that we hadn't, to get like a live setup of this going. But I ended up using FreeDoom instead of the Doom that was on Steam. The cool part about that is FreeDoom is free. The bad part, well, the other cool part about it, which is also a downside, is it has like updated and different assets. But the bad part was I kind of started designing and building before I put a lot of the assets in. Like I'm even talking like shell assets, and they are thematically very different than normal Doom. They're kind of cooler, but they're like more spacey and stuff like that. And I had kind of intended for this to be more of like a horror hell sort of vibe. So there's some things that look neato that I probably couldn't do with original Doom, and there's just a lot of stuff that wasn't kind of in the vision for how I planned it. But unfortunately, I had laid a bunch of groundwork and reached the point of no return. So I was kind of stuck with what I had. So, but whatever, we'll get onto it. So the original concept I wanted to do, which might sound janky at first overview, was I'd slowly wanted this to be a descent into insanity and hell. So my original map just had, the whole map was just kind of angled downwards, and you were just like literally descending into hell. But I wanted this to be kind of more weird, and like kind of a hodgepodge of stuff that was really jarring to the player and shocking, where if I were the player playing it for the first time, I would want to be like, what the hell is going on, kind of at every new section. So I did achieve that, but it's gonna look weird, but it'll make sense once I explain it more, because there was a whole purpose for that. And then things that I wanted to specifically include were a solid grasp of the basics, which was way harder than I imagined. So that's, I mean, a couple talking points related to that, where you kind of think you know what you're doing, but it's not intuitive even with guides. And then I wanted stuff that the player would also think was like very exciting and like cool, where they're just like, oh wow, that was dope, you know. But as a developer, you know, from the perspective, I wanted that for myself too, you know. I'm going to have a much better time and put a lot more time and effort into building something if I'm excited to build something and I'm like, oh man, that's cool too. So, I mean, I guess it's like a win-win, but that was very key for me kind of having fun with this and learning stuff and for the player too. So, which is weird because compared to the basics, it was actually easier to get some of the harder stuff going, and like the easier stuff felt way more difficult, but it's probably because I, you know, overthink when I build things. But once you actually kind of start messing with the hard stuff, it's or the cool things, it's actually very, very difficult to master. So all in all, it was kind of a difficult process, but like cool to learn. So okay, overall thematics was just, I just wanted like some weird stuff going on, but it had to make sense, right? It couldn't just be like a ton of weird stuff, right? So I wanted things to not be as they seemed at first glance. Essentially, I wanted to figure out ways, because I mean, Doom's like a straightforward shooter game, right? And like if I just had one big room with a bunch of enemies, anyone could beat that, but I kind of wanted to figure out ways that I could like trick the player or make the player think, which resulted in some fun stuff, you know, a lot of deception and things like that. I wanted each area to introduce like a different mechanic for layering, so I'll touch on it a little bit later, but there was going to be, you know, the map sizes, this looks small, but I mean, I have a huge grid size, right? But what is it, space? Oh my goodness. Yeah, so this was going to introduce, like the first area was kind of going to do like mirrors and teleporters and stuff like that. The second area was going to do a different mechanic and have a different feel, and then so on for the third, and then so on for the fourth, and then eventually, once I introduced all these mechanics like step by step, there was going to be a much larger level with all of them implemented on like the same, I mean it's the same level, but like on the same plane, I guess, the same overall zone, but a lot more went into this than I wanted. So I didn't quite get to that, but I definitely kind of wanted to add layering and foreshadowing to like each level. You know, train the player what to do, what they should do, what they should keep an eye out for, and things like that. So I specifically wanted to do like mirrors and windows. I specifically wanted a cool like melee area that was like a maze where it just ended up being like weird to navigate in close quarters with enemies, and you can just like saw them up, because I love horror, so kind of like a horror movie. And then each area, so here only the second one doesn't, the first one doesn't get to it, the other two were going to. I had to drop from the first area because this area was way too complicated. But I kind of wanted each area to go in and out of hell. So then that would be a mechanic later that you're kind of exploring the bigger map, and you're going to a section that looks like an earlier section, but you're also having to go in and out of hell too. So it's just, you're really just like losing your sanity. So that was what I wanted the level to feel like, right? So then we'll talk to specific mechanics, issues, and then this is kind of separated by section. So, oh my goodness. There we go. We'll start with this initial area, and then we'll kind of get to the second area, because this I had to cut off, but there's a lot of cool stuff going on here. So this is just an overview, right? We are not doing a playthrough yet. So windows and mirrors. Literally the first thing I built in the level was just a room like full of mirrors with nothing in it. Because I kind of wanted just like at the very start for the player to be like, oh, what's going on? Like this doesn't. I'm just in a room with mirrors. There's like nothing to do here. So I accomplished that to start, but there was some issues. So this kind of wall here was gonna be like a window sort of thing. I mean, it still is, but I wanted it to be just a little, not completely translucent, just like a little more opaque than the other sides. So that way you would know that it was like a different type of wall that you could walk through. And this wall has a mechanic where it's not passable, but you can walk through the middle, like kind of like it was a secret. Like, so the wall texture was going to be different, so you would just like try and like walk through it, and then magically you can walk through it. And then I put a weapon here, so you can see it through the kind of translucent wall too, semi-translucent, excuse me. That like there's something there. So this is where to go. So there's just like some other stuff for the player. I'll come back on this stuff, but you can kind of see these through the wall, so you know where to go. So switches and doors are still like the most painful thing, but something cool was born out of the struggle here. So originally there's like a side area. These are all mirrors too. And then these are two little kind of open hallways. You can tell they're open, but if everything else is a mirror, like it's like a weird angle. So we'll explore that. There was going to be another secret area here. There was going to be this door, and then a door here that I had to delete. And there was a switch mounted here and a switch mounted here. And you were just supposed to like press the switch, and it was supposed to open this door, kill these bad guys, and open to this path. And you can either just go through this path, or you could press this switch, open this door with these enemies, and go down this path. The problem was building columns with switches on something I'd already built was a little more difficult than it should have been. So you kind of had to go into like queue mode, and there was kind of pillars with the switches attached and stuff. But the pillars didn't fit with the ceiling height, and changing heights with the queue mode is weird. So I couldn't even get like the switches in the right place. Then when I did kind of have them in the right place, like by brute forcing it, they wouldn't activate if you hit them. So then I was like, well, what am I gonna do? So then I stumbled into something cool here, but I'll get to that in 1 second. I tried to do a similar thing on the other side, and I just couldn't get it to work, and I wasn't able to figure out what like my issue was. So then what I tried to do was do we'll go to like triggers, because triggers are related to switches too. So I wanted just a step trigger here, like on this line def right here, to say that you walk past this trigger, this door opens after like 8 seconds, and this area opens, and then that same walking trigger also opens this door, but after like 40 seconds, right? So you don't really like, the enemies, the fights are staggered, and the areas are staggered, your decision is staggered. But the floor trigger wouldn't work. And then I had an accidental, like, there was a sound effect that played like something was triggering, and I don't even remember how I got there, but like you would walk on this thing, nothing would happen, but there was like some weird space sounds going in. So that was like much of a struggle. So I had to delete that whole thing. I had to delete these whole triggers. This area, which has little breadcrumbs, arrows, just showing you to go this way, was going to be one of 2 optional paths for the player to fork to. This path, in terms of being crazy, was going to loop back to that same line def, where if you hit the switch and just looked on this path and you just kept going down here, it would keep taking you back here until you hit the other switch over here to go down this path that progresses the level. Didn't work, but that's what I wanted. So you follow these kind of arrows here by health, and there's a little shotgun. There's a secret wall here you have to walk through, but as I learned from trying to do the weird window thing earlier, doing semi opaque walls is weird, because there's like 100% a mirror, and then like you can kind of put it as opaque and change it, but it was just way too much work to get it how I wanted. So anyways, now you don't teleport back here. It's just kind of like does nothing, because you can go in both paths or whatever. But in here, there's a super shotgun. So if you happen to just choose to go to this area, you can get a shotgun. So this door, right, and I'll briefly touch on doors before I get to like the whole later spill of doors. So this is a door. And when I had enemies in here, they had like weird aggro range and stuff. So if I was in this room and started the level, these enemies were turned on. So they would just come out of, let me go to, looks better in things boned. They would just come out of here and just like come down here and shoot me when I'm in this room that's supposed to be like barricaded, and I didn't know what was going on. So essentially when you do a line def for like a door or a wall or something, you have to mark that it either blocks things like player weapons and guns, or player movement, or enemy movement, or both, or whatever. Which, I mean, it wasn't intuitive. It took me forever to figure out, because I kept dying in the starting area. So now there's this door that it has holes in it, like archways. The player can go through it and come kill these guys. The enemies can shoot through it, but they can't walk through it. So until you kind of like come here, it's an optical illusion, which works out really cool. So we got some armor. There was difficulty issues. Things hurt in this. I'll kind of go on that later. Regular shotgun, armor, weapons, etc. So you don't have to, you could run past these guys, but it's intriguing, so whatever. So then you go over here, there's these other armors to let you know this is also a path that, since I took that path out. And then this is a line step portal that works exactly like it's intended. So this is where the line step is. There's your extra room. And then it comes out here, and you can see from here, you can see this area. So you could see this area, you can see there's a chainsaw here, you can see it's different tile and stuff. And there are enemies roaming about. They're active. I don't know how to change their aggro radius, but they could like, you'll see in the first try run, but they creep up from here, because I have them on move, right? I don't have them on stand, but they creep up, and eventually, by the time you get here, you can see them, like, they're like here waiting for you to come through. They can't go through the portal, but like, they know you're there. So that's weird. So we got the cool door in the first area, controlling enemies in the first area. This will pop up again. The deception, the secrets. And then there was one final thing that I couldn't do because I couldn't do the window thing right, but like what I wanted was to have another weird like windowed thing where you started, where you could see, how am I doing on time? Oh my goodness. Where you could see this other Marine here, and it looked like you were looking at yourself in the mirror, but it didn't follow you. So I wanted the player to be really confused. This is actually an enemy, but I put him on ally mode, so he looks the same but has different colored armor, but it looks really cool when you look through like the mirrors and reflection. He won't follow you through the whole level, but it's just weird. It's another optical illusion. So anyways, we come here and we come to like the doors and this whole zone. So I'm gonna try and be quicker. What do we got here? So first I did the whole rectangle, and then I wanted it to like look funky. So the floor you're walking on is paintings, and the ceiling is bookshelves. So it's kind of like upside down or like sideways and stuff. It's not. It just looks weird. But then I kind of started adding all these blocks because I was going to do like these maze areas and stuff like that, you know. And doors can totally fall off or walls can fall off the face of the earth because they have to be unpassable, like double-sided. I didn't know that you like had to block enemy movement and like enemy kind of radius and stuff. So what would happen, there's an issue where you come through here and these were all, you couldn't see through them and they couldn't walk through them, but they could shoot through them, and you were like dying way over here by this machine gunner back here. It's still not perfectly fixed, but it's just the shit I went through for this. But yeah, there was supposed to be 2 secret areas here. This one, and there was another one here. In testing, there was a switch here with like something to make you look at it, and then like a switch back here in case you turned around that would open this door. Neither switch worked, turned on. You can't change the switch state, so I couldn't make it I didn't know how to make it from like eyes unlit to lit up to let you know it was different. But yeah. So anyways, you just kind of go through this maze thing. The walls are scratched up and bloody. It looks weird. There's enemies. You get a chainsaw right here, right when you walk through. And the idea was just tight quarters, chainsaw a bunch of enemies to death. It doesn't work that great because they can still shoot through like 1 or 2 walls that I missed somewhere. But anyways, this I had to delete. Kind of goes back to the whole queue, height elevation, like door opening things. Not only with the switch, but like I ended up having like if you press the door, it would open, but it wouldn't turn the right way and stuff like that. So I took this secret out of here and just put the whole secret into here. This one works if you walk through these invisible walls, which is weird because originally I had a switch that you would press the door and it would open, but then you would walk in the room and the room wouldn't stop going up and down. So it was like a elevator going up like into the ceiling. It didn't hurt you, but it was just janky. So I hope that's fixed still, but it was weird. So in here you got you're prepping for a big fight if you found the secret, because you're gonna have a pretty crappy time. Here before that, you got med pack and you got some big armor. Kill this enemy. There's this bad guy here. He's turned off right now because he would shoot you from the start. And then before I did this whole area, I wanted to do an art pass. So I added like just a bunch of blood and gore like in corridors, right around walls and stuff like that to make it feel more horror, make it feel weird, like you're in a house but there's just random guts everywhere and stuff. So that helped. It was basic. There's also some cool lighting here that flickers, and then like that's the outside zone, so this whole area flickers. These are 2 different shades. And that was done by using dynamic lighting, and then I think the primary zone ratio is like the outside, whatever. So anyways, just kill a bunch of enemies, human-looking enemies. And here's some fun, weird stuff. So, let's see if I can... Oh. EDSW. So you can't see it here. This is like a weird wall, but you can see through part of this wall. You can see through the missing areas, but you can't walk through it. And on the opposite side of these walls, it's like hell. But the enemies can't shoot you through this. So it's another optical illusion where it's just like, what the F is going on here? I could see there's something screwed up. This area looks different. And when you come over to here, it's a windowed line def portal to this side, right? Which is like the big kind of boss area that I got finished with. Those dudes are really strong after testing, so I put an invulnerability here. So basically you get invincible, teleport over here. There's a super shotgun if you want to shoot. There's also a berserk, because I really wanted like the concept to be either chainsaw these people to death or punch them to death with berserk and invulnerability. You can still do that, or you can shoot. A lot of these weapons were placeholders for later in the level and just for player expression and things like that. So there's tried to put little breadcrumbs where to like show stuff was. Accomplished the melee thematic, the berserk, the chainsaw. It's kind of like a hell house. It has the whole split between like weird area, hell, optical illusions that would also keep building. Walls. Even switching the line defs, if you set things up weird, like it's hard to switch the line defs and the orientation and how stuff does. So I mean, you really like want to work on like one thing by a time, and like immediately go in, test it, test the wall, test the switch, test everything, pull back out, and then just do that again. Like very important, because the second I want to like delete this wall, this area, and like just make a new one that's not screwed up, it deletes the inside of this and like all the other layering, like the floor, the ceiling. It's just like a black block. So yeah, very important. What else important? Yeah, switches, doors suck. This secret has an environmental cue. It works, but whatever, just the wall looks different, and there's this one random thing to like make you look closer. So we have environmental cues. Switches are weird. Can't state change. There's secret. The lighting flickering is really cool. I definitely underestimated, between just having this one light in both areas and like no light, the whole feel of the area changes. So lighting, definitely I would explore more, and I would advise people to look through. Enemies hurt really bad. There was way more enemies here. There was way stronger enemies. There was like, these guys could like jump you. So I had to put like more armor in. I had to take out enemies or make enemies weaker. I don't know if that was just the FreeDoom thing, like if the scaling's different or whatever, but yeah, that required a lot of time. So we have the cool and stain part. We have the cool hellscape. I only learned how to do this by, literally this was just supposed to be a door that was a line def where you walked right here. It wasn't a portal, but it was just a trigger that made this door come down. I broke it until now it's like something that's super cool. So, you know, it's not a bug, it's a feature. Talked about the climax. The next two areas were going to be, so if I were to continue to develop, it would just be like a green on green sort of space area where it's like a space station, but then there's like toxic waste that hurts you that's green, but then there's also a lot of green grass tiles mixed with the space tiles, so you'd be confused as like what was a little confused as to what was toxic, what was grass until you got it. And then there's some other space stuff and tiles too. And then the final kind of training area was going to be FreeDoom has some weird assets, like I guess all Dooms do, but it has pretty funny looking Nazis. It has dogs that I thought were going to be more mean, but then they ended up looking and sounding like puppy dogs, so I kind of had to take them out. But there's like tiles for like the New York skyline or like the Empire State Building stuff. So this was going to be like you're in space and then you're in like New York City. The final area would just be in all four of these areas, but in a giant area where you progressively like do this corridor of these mechanics, this here, this here, this here. But then like the next room you unlock rotates to a different kind of mechanic. So it's like you'll go from wood area to green area, from the mirror area to the New York area, and then it just kind of whatever, and just you progressively unlock it. So there was a plan for it all to make sense. I think I covered most of the stuff. Things I didn't get to explore, but would add much more flavor. Yeah, so lighting's cool. You'll see lighting in a second. Doors. Honestly, if I just made a whole level of just doors with no enemies and nothing else, like that would have been a great help. I didn't get to go with keycards yet, but you know. If I can't do doors, I can't do keycards. Scope. I introduced some weird weapon stuff that wasn't consistent, and ideally what I would have done was like expanded this one area and just have it be one area, like level 1. And then this area be level 2 and you can finish. Then 3, 4, and then the giant 5. That would have given me much more area and time to explore mechanics instead of just trying to get like my ideas on paper in small batches. Definitely playtesting. If I did way more playtesting on this, it would have been a much better design experience, but I tested enough in this to like, it works. It could be better, yeah. Walls too. You could also probably just do a whole level of just weird kind of walls and stuff and just learn, you know, opacity, translucency, blocking shots, shooting through walls, stuff like that. Like that's like a whole nother kind of cool thing. And then expanding on areas. I think this mirror area would have been cooler. Oh my god. JK. Would have been cooler if it was bigger, right? I didn't let it breathe. So I think sizing is important. I think reading through the GZdoom, FreeDoom, and Ultimate Doom Builder docs would have helped me more. The videos were great, but I think like going on the wiki a lot more than I did would have helped. And then triggers. Triggers are a mess. Aside from Mind Step Portal, which I got, like there's so much cool stuff you can do with triggers. There's also cool things you can do with like forced camera angles and stuff for like point to an object, like cutscene stuff that I didn't even get to that, I mean, I'd love to explore later. And I'm never going to say doors again. So before I do this quick playtest, I'll just kind of do both in one because I'm already taking up way too much time. There's a link in the video description to like play Mick Gordon's like Doom track because I don't think there's music, so you can just like put that on loop at half step before I start to get your thematic going. If you are epileptic, this is a Very serious epilepsy warning. Do not watch the walkthrough playthrough. There is lots of really bright or fast flashing white and blacks. So you will have a seizure. Do not do that. Side notes for the education department. You can build this outside of Steam because you had said you can't get the Doom 2 on Steam. So FreeDoom, which is the assets I used, is literally free. You just Google FreeDoom, and I'm pretty sure it's works on Mac. And then instead of using, I think it's Ultimate Doom Builder. No, you still use Ultimate Doom Builder. GZdoom. Instead of using GZdoom, you use Slade, SLADE, and it's the same thing, but it specifically works on a Mac. We could talk offline if you have more questions. But let's do this quick and see what we got going on. So that's the weird marine thing. We got this like pyramid stuff. It doesn't fit, but I had already built it. So you can see me in the mirror. This guy's just chilling, but he's a friendly. You could kill him if you want, though. He's not gonna shoot you. So this was gonna be like a mash between these two, but this was weird. So anyways, now it's just a hallway, but it still looks like, you know, kind of weird, but you know where to go. Shotgun armor. That's deleted. We still have the weird kind of mirror thing going on where shit looks weird. So this is the cool, they can shoot, but they can't walk. But it looks like a door, right? So it doesn't make sense. But you can go through. Oh, see, I got lost on the wall. I'm gonna die. Well, I definitely wanted much more of that stuff in the level. So we're gonna follow these arrows, just get this health. This wall sucks, it's supposed to be transparent. Oh, plasma gun, that's what it is. I'm gonna try and heal up a bit. Get some armor. And we got our first line step. Oh shit, what is that? There's like skulls? And a chainsaw? And enemies you can... What? That's trippy. Alright, so now we got, you know, books, paintings, we got some ambiance, crazy looking walls. Oh, I need some health. If I get shot through a wall here, sorry. I don't remember where he is. Oh, there he is. There's more guts and stuff I don't need. You know, art pass. It's kind of like a maze, figuring your way around. So that's a breadcrumb and a different looking door to let you know to do something. Okay, the switch thing still works. So this is what happens when you have a walk-through door and a switch on the door that you don't know how to stop. Fun bug. Wait, can I get it? Oh, does that break it? Alright, we're just gonna... Love bugs, dude. We're just gonna kind of skip to the end here. I'm gonna not do that so we can finish the level. I don't know where that guy is. Health, armor. I don't have the chainsaw, but there's a berserk. I'm still getting shot through walls here. So look, this is the cool, like, it can't do anything, right? You see this different area? Oh shit. And there's invulnerability, so you're like, okay, I mean, I guess we're going into hell. And your invulnerability. Our shotgun, our berserk. We can't die, we don't know what's going on, we're in hell, things are crazy. Just punching stuff to death. There's more invulnerability. Okay, again, you could like go back here if you want, but they can't come through. I'm not gonna finish it. And there would be an exit door that doesn't work because the level's not finished, but I just wanted something to like show whatever. So that's it. That's the level. Learned a lot, had a lot of fun, definitely a lot more to practice. And yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you, and where's OBS? Have a good day.